Welcome to the Monch Hours podcast, where our mission is to appreciate all things anime manga. I'm your host Hanzi, and I'm here with my co-host Jordan, Grandmaster Jay, who is not on the screen currently because you know what? It's just that's the way it goes. But Jordan, what's going on? Let me see if I can get you up here in a minute. I don't know where you went.
You gonna do me like that? This guy's hiding me. So what happens when he goes on vacation? This guy just loses all respects as a producer.
It's Streamlabs, man. Like all my settings got like wonked, and I had to go through it. Like you're here, but I just had to click on the thing. It was weird. But we're back. We got transmission is up, ready to rock and roll. Wearing the all white today, man. It's a white out. You're like blending in with the walls. I can only see your facial hair. Actually, that's it.
I'm just a pudding, just beard. A shitty beard.
Apparently October came early. Halloween's here. We're joined by Casper the Friendly Ghost.
It's almost spooky season.
Spooky. But no, today we're talking about all things Cyberpunk Edgerunners. We're dedicating the episode to it, which is a brand new series that just dropped earlier this week on Tuesday. Netflix in partnership with CD Projekt RED and Trigger to make this amazing anime. So we're gonna be talking about that. So if you haven't seen it yet and you are worried about spoilers, then definitely this is the episode to not watch till you've seen it. Yeah, you might be thinking, whoa, is this guy really telling me not to watch his content? I am, dude. You can catch his content later. Free your mind. Enjoy the show. No spoilers. But I'll be back as soon as we cue the intro, baby. Let's go. Oh, wait. Gotta crack a cold one. It's Friday. Let's do it.
Hey.
All right, now it's time for the.
From the deepest reaches of space, the boys are back in town.
Thank you so much, best friend.
And we've got an all-new lineup.
From now on, you're mine.
But more importantly, we have a show to run.
Welcome to the Monch Hours podcast.
All right, we're back. As you know, we got a fresh week, so we got a fresh brew. Jay, what are you sipping on?
Bro, I got the moon juice because we going to the moon, baby, just like Lucy wanted.
Oh, damn! He got the Santan moon. He's already on the moon. This guy is... What? I did not expect that. Jay's coming into... I'm that is... Cheers to that. That is deserving of an applause there. All right, man. I love it. Going to the moon. I didn't have that much foresight. All I'm drinking is a hazy IPA from Made West, local here. Actually, I think this is VCB. No, it's Made West. This is Made West. Here in Ventura County. So cheers to the freaking weekend, baby, and cheers to Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Got the moon juice, man. That's crazy.
I had to, bro. It wasn't intentional. It kind of just played out perfectly.
Oh, hey, I appreciate it. Pretty soon you'll be feeling as light as a feather. You drink enough of those. You're on moon gravity, son.
Oh yeah, dude. That's the goal.
Moving in slow motion.
Friday, baby.
Just like Hans every 4th of July.
Damn.
But let's jump into this here. So as you guys know, we talked about earlier, if you're just jumping in for the first time, check us out. Of course, if you're watching this live, you can check us out on Spotify at Monch Hours, episodes every other week, every other Friday. But if you're watching this or listening to this on Spotify, check us out while we do live recordings. It's going to be every other Friday, same time, 7 p.m. Pacific time on Twitch and YouTube. Just search Hanzi. That's where the live Hans or Hanzi. That's where the live streams go. Hanzi, yeah. And then I take them up and then record them, upload them onto YouTube under the Monch Hours. So it's kind of like a pipeline. You got the lives on Hanzi and then the recordings on Monch Hours. Astronaut in the chat. We have Mobbers already in the chat. Shout out to Ghost Ivy. Shout out to Astronaut47. He says the Raiders hat with the sicky face. I know, dude. I know. We can't hate. He's a California native. What are you gonna do about it? But back to the task at hand, Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Jay, give me a sentence or a word. What'd you think of Cyberpunk Edgerunners? I can't tell if that's sarcasm or is that actually what he.
I was gonna make you sit in it.
Damn, this guy's he's got time today. Jay's got time today, man.
Oh, that's the worst for any audio medium, just sitting in silence. But no, definitely not, Matt. One word. Dude, awesome. I don't know. I can't just
awesome.
sum it down to one word. There's style.
Stylistic, bombastic,
Stylistic, yeah.
extreme,
Bombastic.
spunky, emotional.
A lot. There's a lot. And love, maybe love. I don't know.
Okay, I'll take it. You know, I will say Cyberpunk Edgerunners is everything I wanted Cyberpunk 2077 to be and more. But for those of us that are just joining and don't really know what Cyberpunk is, I'll kind of break it down to you. So let's start off here at the start. So why we're talking about Cyberpunk Edgerunners, actually prior to that, there's just a genre called Cyberpunk. What is Cyberpunk? It's a subgenre of science fiction, usually taking place in a dystopian, futuristic setting that tends to focus on a combination of like low life, low, poverty, and high tech, featuring futuristic technology and scientific achievement such as artificial intelligence, cybernetics, juxtaposed with societal collapse, dystopia, or decay. That is straight from Wikipedia. I couldn't have said it better myself. Hey, I donate to Wikipedia, so I think I can quote them from time to time. But that is typically what you find in the cyberpunk genre. Usually writers tend to use elements from crime fiction, particularly hard-boiled detective fiction and film noir, maybe postmodern prose, to describe an often nihilistic underground side of electronic society. So while, people always push tech as like how we get to like a perfect society, a utopia, puts all your worries away. Cyberpunk really sees that as the exact opposite. And you can often say that we are currently living in somewhat of a cyberpunk society, especially now with the sudden boom of AI, that technology is being used against us and often creating much more of a rift between, class, between structure, many of things that kind of depict society. I mean, just recently I saw a guy came out with an AI that allows you to plug your selfie into a program, and the program will find the street camera where you took the selfie and show you where you took it. It's crazy. So typically, Cyberpunk is really not of that perfect utopia. It's more of that dystopia, as we mentioned. Where did Cyberpunk start? How did it start? Usually began appearing pretty early on. I would say as far back as like the 1940s, 1950s. Maybe in 1981 is kind of where we saw that come to light. Even appearing in comics such as as early as Judge Dredd, and that was first published in 1977. Which, if you're looking for a good cyberpunk film in general, Judge Dredd. Phenomenal, one of my favorites. Of course, you have Blade Runner, which is the go-to. You have both the old one with what's his name, Han Solo. I forget his name.
Ford.
Who?
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford. Thank you. Or the new one with pretty boy Ryan Gosling. So those are some movies you can check out that remind you of Cyberpunk. Other shows you might have seen, Altered Carbon is Cyberpunk. Hey, if you like anime and you've either read or watched Akira, that's Cyberpunk. Psychopaths, Cyberpunk. So a lot of things people consume in media are oftentimes Cyberpunk, even though they don't really know what that genre is. It's very popular, it's very big, and it's loved by those, especially diehard fans. So that is kind of the little basis of what exactly Cyberpunk is as a whole. Cyberpunk Edgerunners, not to be confused with just Cyberpunk, pretty much tells you this is a Cyberpunk series, and it's a standalone 10 episode story about a street kid named David who's trying to survive in a technology and body modification obsessed city of the future called Night City. Having everything to lose, he chooses to stay alive by becoming an edgerunner, a mercenary outlaw also known as a cyberpunk. Bam, 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 bam. Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
beautifully put.
I'm waiting for my applause. Where are my loyal subjects? Where are my loyal subjects? No.
Dude.
So yeah, man. So I mean, I guess I would ask you if you have your earliest memory of anything Cyberpunk.
My earliest memory, I mean, like many people, for anime at least, it's either I'd say Akira.
Okay.
But it could also be Ghost in the Shell. I'm not sure which one I saw first, but I want to say Akira. And then
I mean, I
probably saw.
I mean, Gundam is kind of.
You consider Gundam?
It's very warish, but technology. There's warring classes, the poor Earth, upscale Mars.
I guess I never thought about Gundam as Cyberpunk.
Could be. Who knows? I mean, we're going full tech, full mech on that one.
Yeah, but I'll go with Akira, I'd say. And I don't know. There's always been something about the genre that it just draws you in. It might be the fact that we put so much like emphasis on like technology being our savior.
Yeah.
When in reality, as we all learn, like it doesn't. It might bring more problems than it fixes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at like just something like social media, you're like, sweet, I'll never be alone, and then people feel more alone than ever because of it. And that's just like on the small scale compared to what these shows and movies, what they deal with. And then it makes you start thinking like, oh shit, like technology isn't like really the end all be all that we might think of it as. Fully changing your human form and adding these augmented parts. Is that really the smart move? I don't know.
I mean, shit. Personally, I'm for it, bro. I'm for cybernetics, man. I'll go straight chrome to my dome. I don't care. But no, I think I'm very similar to kind of my first introduction would be Ghost in the Shell. And again, a lot of times, like we mentioned, we don't even know we're watching Cyberpunk when we first get introduced to it. I mean, it could have been. It wasn't Blade Runner. I actually didn't watch Blade Runner until later in life, much after I was already in love with Cyberpunk. I mean, it goes far. Like I said, there's a lot of publications, there's a lot of shows, a lot of mediums that often have a very great cyberpunk theme to it, very solid foundation that we just weren't aware of until oh shit, this is a genre, and we automatically love it. And I think that's where Cyberpunk Edgerunners really kind of takes the cake home for me. Just in a general sense, is like the themes of Cyberpunk is so concrete in this series that it's just like from the moment you start, you get everything you need to know. Episode 1 tells you everything you need to know, even if you've never seen the Cyberpunk show. And with that, I will say that because of that, it's because it's built on this foundation of Cyberpunk, whether it be 2022, 2077, Mike Pondsmith's creation of this Cyberpunk story he created is just super solid. So they had a lot to go off of, and they had a lot to build off of to create this beautiful series, which we watched right now. So that's only 10 episodes, but nonetheless, it's the 10 episodes that really drew me in, and it's one that makes you put your phone down and just sucks you into the show. One thing you hear me mention right now is this is a story, or this is a IP that was created by Mike Pondsmith. So if you haven't played, some thought watching you have to have played Cyberpunk 2077, since it does take place in the same universe. You do not. And I'm glad Jay was able to watch this, and as me who's played it, Jay who hasn't played it, you get the straight difference right there. So it's pretty good. You have two perspectives from this moving forward, so we can give our thoughts into that. Jay, is there anything you felt like, oh, I don't know, I may have missed something that the game could provide it to you, or did you feel that Edgerunners was able to give you the full story without a hitch?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, like I did not play the game. I never played the tabletop, correct? It's tabletop.
Tabletop and yeah,
initially. Yeah, so I have no experience in this world, but it being an IP based off of an already established genre, which it doesn't go out of the way to add anything. If you have like a basis of what cyberpunk as a genre is, you can pretty much gather through the context that it provides all the information you need. You know, there's stuff that you might not understand like right away, but just as the story and the world just progresses, imagery and whatnot, you start to gather like there's a sickness that you can get from cybernetics, and it doesn't beat it over your head with it, but you're just able to gather it through just the world building. And like it basically it plays with the tools that are in the cyberpunk genre very well, and you don't miss anything coming from like ground zero, no background in this IP. So it did a brilliant job just introducing new people, myself, to this world and really just putting its hooks in you. It really made me actually want to play the game. I was like, shit, I want to be getting augmented and going in on this shit. But yeah, no, I think it did a really good job playing towards a wider audience, not just the fans that the IP audience has established.
That's great to hear. I'm really excited to hear that, because that was a worry of mine. Even though I knew that it wasn't going to be an issue, I was just really kind of worried that maybe some nuances would be missed. But I think going into it, what you got as, you know, the full-fledged story, I got that too. But things I heard, maybe like little callbacks or nuances or Easter eggs to the game itself. One being, you know, just the UI that when we first introduced to Lucy and she's hacking, you know, the car, from within the car, that hacking UI interface is the same exact one that's in the game. The phone calls that come up, got me looking. I'm freaking Pavlov. They got me looking at the side of the screen when I'm watching the show, because that's what happens in game. That same sound go doo doo doo, and I look in the side and answer the call, but it's happening in game. There's so many kind of just the settings, everything. I just Trigger, man, and this is what Trigger does is they have a project and they just succeed all expectations. If you're not familiar with Studio Trigger, maybe you've seen some of the shows: Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, Movie Premiere, Brand New Animal, Little Witch Academia, just name a few. Solid shows, and we got another super solid show. Very flashy, very stylistic, and Cyberpunk Edgerunners fulfills that to a next level, I would say. Even with that sick intro. That intro was like simplistic yet booming. I loved it. Of course, with Franz Ferdinand, which I didn't expect to have on the soundtrack nonetheless, but I think everything from the get-go, Cyberpunk Edgerunners really sets it up foundation-wise. Even like you mentioned, Jay, the cyberpsychosis. I'm a particular fan of cyberpsychosis. There's an excellent side story quest line in 2077 that was all around cyberpsychosis, and just, you know, when people go full chrome and how you lose your sense of humanity, really kind of just spoke to me, connected to me in some sense, and I was really intrigued with that story. So seeing it in Edgerunners be played out the way it did, just, man, chef's kiss all the way. So we talked about the theme, we talked about the general start of it. Let's talk a little bit about the characters. We're first introduced to David Martinez, who is, I think he's around the age of 17 years old. Doesn't know a father. His mom is part of, you know, some EMT. He grew up in the streets of Santo Domingo, and he is pretty much what you expect. You know, your typical teenage kid growing up in that situation, trying to make the best of his life, but being pushed to certain breakpoints. What'd you think of David, man, as a character, as a main antagonist?
I thought he was a good character. I enjoyed the character growth. And, I mean, 10 episodes, it's not a lot of time to really flesh out, like, a character, but I feel like they did a good job of introducing you and not just bogging down the story with building this character. They did it in a well-paced way, to the point where, you know, I enjoyed who he was, and the internal conflicts and everything that he had going on, I found that he wasn't like a main character that just grinds on you. He's someone that you're rooting for almost, and you're pulling for him to succeed in his goals as the story progresses.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you say. I felt very attached to him very early. And again, like we're talking about the two perspectives, me going into Cyberpunk and kind of knowing his outcome already, I still was attached to it. And again, this is very spoiler territory here. We're talking about if you've already seen the show. So if you haven't seen the show, we're going to talk about some stuff right now where it will ruin it for you. Maybe not. So what I'm kind of alluding to here is David Martinez. There's actually a drink in the game at the Afterlife bar, which this crew kind of frequents. That oh, hey, Tommy Tamula. Wait, I think your chat came in right here. Also on the multi-stream chat, so I see it on YouTube. Yeah, we'll get to that. I'm gonna get your comment here in a second. Afterlife, where was I? The drink where pretty much dictates, go out with a bang, live life as David did, and he has his own little drink, pretty much portraying the story that he lives and he dies. So going into the show, I knew how it was going to happen. I knew how he was going to get there, but it still hit me super hard. And I want to say, I would like to argue that even though I knew it was happening, it almost made me connect more to David of his tragic story, knowing where it would lead to on his mission to do what his mom wanted to do, to do what Maine wanted him to do, to become legend, become a cyberpunk. Tommy Tumula on YouTube says, what if David's still alive in the relic on Arasaka Underground? That's a very good point, man. I mean, Ad the Smasher did tell him he could become a pretty fun construct, but I think that is, more so our fans of Cyberpunk that have played the game and they're super delved into just that Cyberpunk 2022-2077 storyline. Yes, that's huge. I would love to hear that discussion, especially with other fellow Cyberpunkers. But yeah, that's a great take. And so David Martinez, great antagonist, made me connect with him. And at the end, man, it was so heartfelt, and it was very hard for me to kind of get choked up and watch. It was essentially his final bout with Adam Smasher.
Yeah, I hear you. I remember you had mentioned something about there being a drink about him and being foreshadowing, like, him not making it before even watching it. And, like, as I was watching, I think I was in denial. I was like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Even though you have more of a attachment to the IP than me. But I think I was able to, like, hold on to hope and not even contemplate that he isn't gonna make it. The whole time I was like, it'll work out in the end. Right. And it made it emotional come to the end when it didn't play out how I was hoping it would. But you got a little tugged on the heartstrings at the end. So, I mean, it played out like it should, and I should have listened to you from the get-go instead of just brushing aside all your comments. Yeah. But it's not the first time. It's not the last time I'll do that, huh?
No, I mean, dude, it's perfect that you think that way. Like I said, we have two varying points of views or points of entry here on this anime, on this series. So I'd love to hear that thought. What I will say is, it is cyberpunk, and usually these storylines are obviously very grim and dark, and there's not many survivors to tell the tale. Even the game, the game's been out for so long. The game is very much you're on a mission, and you're not gonna make it. You're gonna die. It's very similar stories, very different I guess I'd say different stories, same outcome in a sense. What I love to see about David is kind of his journey into how much Chrome he got, and from what he had. He was at the start purely organic. Then he got that Sandy from Gloria, his mom, or what was left of her, which shout out, rest in peace, Gloria. That was a very great introduction into just how fast things move in Cyberpunk. It's just like, oh, your mom died, here you go, boom, no time to mourn, on to the next, right? So he got that. We had like a very cool time skip about in episode 7 where David goes from teenage kind of, you know, lanky build, almost like a runner, into just bulked out, almost as big as Maine. Not quite, but fully chrome. Like, I think the only organic part of him was like his internals and his face and brain. I did not expect that. I was like, holy shit, he's going full chrome. And it kind of stands to his ability of to not neurally degrade when he has all these attachments.
Yeah. Yeah, he went from a boy into just just a juiced out, just
Monkey,
looking like
bro.
a yeah, just frat
Boy,
boy,
went straight
just
ape, dude. Literally ape.
Yeah.
Lucy got. Lucy got some mods. Lucy, yeah. We'll just leave it at that. Tommy, and who was Rogue Contact at Space would be Lucy. I would imagine so. I would imagine the game. I think 1.6 had mentions. The update 1.6 of the game had mentions of tie-ins from the anime into the game. I would fucking love that, Tommy. If they really tied everything together, I would do another replay immediately. Immediately. Oh, I would do a replay immediately because I haven't replayed the game yet. I'm actually still at the last mission of the game. I did all the other side quests. I'm just at the last one. I'm just there. I just don't finish things. That's what I do. I guess what I don't do. I don't finish things. But speaking of David, speaking of, you know, his progression and all that, we'll kind of come to the end of the story and whatnot a little later. Just want to get to the characters. We're actually introduced to his this ragtag team that puts him, or essentially adopts him into this, as he's just, you know, roaming around and whatnot. That is, I don't think they really had a team name, but the Mercs. Oh no, they did have one. I forget what it was called, because it had the green emblem. Oh, do you remember what I don't remember. But leading Maine, right? So we had Maine, Rebecca, Dorio, Lucy, Kiwi, and Pillar were the first initial people that David met. Their first initial Edgerunners, the first initial Cyberpunks. And let's start with Maine, kind of his idol, who became his father figure, became his, you know, his pillar, his shield, his sword. Maine used to be a military soldier before he became a mercenary. Now, a veteran edgerunner in Night City, Maine dreams of making it big. Although he values his friendship with his crew more than his own glory. And maybe that's why I like Maine a lot. Your first, you know, initial start of him, he's like, oh man, this guy's just a grift. He's grifty. He doesn't give a shit. He wants his money, and he's kind of pissed that David got that Sandy. Of course, then we have, you know, like the big old teddy bear kind of analogy where he's like hard skin, soft on the inside. And I just grew to love Maine immensely. I think if I had I've had a couple favorite characters. I'd probably be, David was awesome, but Maine and Rebecca, for me personally, are two of my favorite. What'd you think of Maine, Jay? How was he as a character to you?
He was one of my top, or I'd say my two favorite characters, honestly. I don't know, he reminded me of Jet from Cowboy Bebop.
Yes,
just
dude.
That's what I was just gathering. Just that wise older figure, has a hard background, but is softer than what he puts out there. And I just love that character that you have to peel back the layers and really get in there to really start to see how this guy really is. And you see how he just takes David under his wing,
right, and
is really trying to help him grow in this world. Like, it's a dog eat dog world, and like Maine recognizes that, and
yeah,
he like sees something in David that he wants to help, like just foster like a growth in. I guess that's the best way I can put it. Is just he like you said, he's a father figure, and he's acting as such.
You could say he's David's main point of growth.
Nope, can't say that. No, we won't say that.
I said that. No, I said that. No, But yeah, everything you said, I really enjoyed his character. I really enjoy how he was to David. And one thing is, it's interesting in Night City, even himself, like he's a guy to kind of like shoot first, ask questions later. But also on the other side of the coin, everyone in his crew gets their fair share. Everyone gets taken care of, and he essentially becomes family to him. And seeing him and the way he went out in episode 6, when he did go through cyber psychosis, but still maintained that, was still able to maintain enough, I guess, thought or that part of him to recognize his family, to recognize those who were important to them and not attack them, was pretty impactful to me. And those last moments with Maine, Dorio, and David, and essentially Maine giving Dorio and himself a Viking send-off, and David's face just like in pain was, I was thinking to myself as I watched that, I was like, I don't know if I could watch this part of this episode again, because it hit pretty hard. It was like, damn.
Yeah. That whole situation was beautiful. Once you get to the end and see how everything wraps up,
yeah,
you see how, Maine, he really loved like all of these people he was close to. And there's moments where the cyber psychosis, it broke him, and he did like lash out and act in a way that he wouldn't. But then like David shows up and he was able to like recenter himself. Yeah. And then you see the same thing happen with David. So it was almost like David really did grow into being Maine.
He did. Yeah, he did.
Just going full augmented, and yeah.
And he still held his fist, man. Like, I was really, there's like a very cool scene, where Maine tells him, "You can have my fist, when I go." And then David does get this fist, and then when he bulks up, he keeps his fist. And then Doc's like, "Why do you still have those old fists?" Right? Gets him some new chrome. He's like, "Nah, I like these. I like this old model. It means a lot to me." It's just like, I love shit like that, man. Especially in this kind of world too, where like new chrome is everything. Maintaining that old chrome, especially one as prolific as Maine's, really kind of spoke to me. I will say, Maine's cyber psychosis was fucking awesome. Like, dude, there was that time where he just like fucking splattered Tanaka's face across the freaking floor, and then like he goes up to that guy and he's like just painted in blood. I was like, fuck, that is insane. Beautiful gore in this series. Like, we haven't talked about the gore yet. This series is gory. I mean, from the start, watch it. If it's too much for you, get out, because there's gonna be more of it. Fucking sick.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna get worse.
Yeah, Dorio was his lover. I think she had cool moments. I kind of wish she had more of her, a little more of a backstory, because she's seen, while Maine was a father figure, Dorio was definitely the mother figure. And you know me, I love my muscular bound women, so I would love to get more interesting. I think she was similar in terms of Maine, where tough exterior, soft inside. And I think that's why this crew kind of happened to be how it was, because, well, you have Maine, you also have Dorio, who's that second pillar of similar values and honor. So I wish we had more of her. Yeah, I can't say much because she did have that passing, but it is what it is. But we have Dorio, and then of course there was Rebecca. And I'm going this order right now: David, Maine, Dorio, and Rebecca, because they all fill a certain role in the Cyberpunk universe called a solo. What is solo? Pretty much they're just hired. They're not like super techy, they don't have the hacks, they don't have like the super equipment that's super intricate. They do have chrome, but pretty much they're hired hitmen, bodyguards, and mercenaries right from the core. So they're very instinctive, right? They got a knack for this kind of stuff. They have ability to perceive danger, notice traps, almost uncanny, unearthly ability to avoid harm. Like, they're just the guy. They're the guy, they're that guy. They're that person. They're that girl that you want on your back. They want with you because they know their shit. Rebecca is one of my favorite solos. Becca is just fucking awesome, dude. I can't say enough things about her. When she was first introduced as a trailer, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, spunky kid, whatever, got it. As the story progressed, I think she became one of my favorite characters, because we have this, what is typically shown as like maybe a lolly who is just pretty much all gas, no brakes, but she does have a soft side to her as well. I mean, we see everybody in this crew has a soft side to her, and really takes David, a liking to David, and becomes wholesome, becomes adorable, and you really cherish the friendship that is Becca and David. Freaking love it, dude. What'd you think of Becca?
I thought she was fun. She brought energy to the team, and like you mentioned, like I had the same assumptions, like, oh, that's all she's gonna be, is just pure energy, which can start to become grinding in stories. But like you mentioned, there's like most of the characters in this, there's layers, and she started to show that she might have a tough exterior, but she also really cares about everyone she's working with, and she doesn't want to see like bad outcomes come for any of them. She mentions to David how she can't see the same, like what happened to her brother happened to him, and like in a way that's her saying like he's a brother to her,
family,
in like a roundabout way, and like that's just a beautiful thing. Like you might put on this act, but when push comes to shove, like you don't want to. She don't want to see any of these people get hurt, and they're in a tough world, in a tough occupation where most likely everyone you know is gonna end up in a bad spot, and she just didn't want to see that. And there's something hopeful about her with her tough veneer.
It's funny there. Today I actually saw that CD Projekt RED actually pushed to take Becca out of the show, but Trigger was like, no, she has to stay. She has to stay. And I love it because Becca, while small, I don't really see her as a lolly, as more of I see her in like kind of what people consider a lolly. I see her more of a short person with a massive attitude, a big attitude, and big guns to match. Fucking awesome character, man. Like just straight up, it's just chaos incarnate, but directed chaos. Man, fuck Adam Smasher, dude. She went out like a fucking champ, bro. She's like, we're getting to the end, right? We're getting to the end of the show. Becca's alive, Falco's alive, and you're like, okay, man, like, one of them's gonna go. Who the fuck is gonna go? Because it can't be all three in Lucy, like, and then she goes out like a fucking champ, like, and I want to say shout out to her and Falco, because they knew when David was going through his thing. He's like, we're gonna get at the top of Arasaka Tower, and they you know, like, all right, let's do it, David. We're gonna go out. You know, we're seeing this through. And I can't say enough good things about her, man. So such a great character that was a surprise X Factor character for me that really came to the top. Like if you told me that she was gonna be one of my favorite characters from the trailer, nah, I would have been like, you're funny.
Yeah, you mentioned, so I said how Maine was one of my top 2 characters.
Yeah.
And based off of strictly like design and just job, dude, Falco is my other favorite character.
Falco's badass, dude. Falco is
there wasn't much in sense of like backstory and like character building, but dude, I just liked how he looked, and just being the getaway driver, I was like, this dude's badass.
He's the driver, man. He's got the cowboy stash, and Becca kind of throws that at him. And he's the driver. You know what he does? He knows how to do it well, and we see it very well. Falco's tight. I mean, am I biased because he has a sick mustache? Maybe. He's got that arm. He's just cowboy, bro. He's cowboy.
I was gonna text you. I was gonna say, hey, Falco's got that Hanzi stash.
Dude, I'm about to cosplay that next anime.
Bring it back.
Bro. You gotta find a David. You gotta jack up. You gotta bulk up and be Maine, dude. You're tall enough.
All right, I'll main up, bro.
Main up.
Let's go.
Tommy says they put out Becca because everybody liked her. I mean, it's not hard to see why everybody liked her. But Falco, you know, it'd be cool to see maybe a side story of Falco. I feel like, Well, at the same time, I say that, but I feel like Cyberpunk in this particular universe is done very well when you have the same setting but a different story, because it really fleshes out everything. Like, more hatred toward Arasaka, more hatred toward Militech. All these mega corpos are just fucking scum, man. And I see it, like, it's so relatable to the situation we live in now. Like fucking, I don't want to say shit. I don't know, whatever. Like, fuck Nestle. I don't care. Fuck Nestle, dude. They're scum. If you don't know why Nestle is a piece of shit, fuck Nestle. Look them up. Look up the water. Dude, they freaking...
They bought all the water. It's not a big deal.
They bought all the water. They got, like, this third world country addicted or dependent on their, like, milk formula, baby formula, and then they jack the prices up. Fuck that company. Fuck those corpos. Anyways, on to the next. Next up, of course, how can we not talk about Lucy? I would say, argue, one of the also other main antagonists, David's love interest, and a very prolific character, both in all forms of the trailers and the series herself. What'd you think of Lucy? Oh, Zell, man. What's going on? When are we doing a Dune podcast? Whenever I finish the books, which is never. So, check it later, son. No, thank you for coming in, man. Appreciate it. Lucy, Jay, what'd you think?
Dude, I love Lucy. She, if you love David, she kind of like their relationship. You can't like one without liking the other. They have like a great relationship, and I just love the way they acted together and how they when you like watch them, they were really, as like a couple, they were really pulling for each other to like make each other's lives just a little bit better in this shitty world that they lived in. And it was in a way, it's just, the whole series is like a beautiful love story that ends tragically. It's like a Romeo and Juliet, no happy endings. But I loved how just she had that simple dream of just going to the moon.
Going to the moon, baby.
And how she early in knowing David, and even though she might have been trying to play him, she brought him in on this dream, and it wasn't like it was a false dream that she had. She actually, that was something that she hadn't shared with anyone. And even though she might have had bad intentions initially, it was her kind of showing like a different layer of herself that she might not have shown anyone else. And it just allows you to look at like the complexity of how she is as a character, as a person, how all of us are. We all have these different facets of our lives that we might not show someone until we really are feeling comfortable with them. And you see that she felt comfortable with David even though she tried to play him. She felt comfortable to show him that she had this dream.
It's Moon Dream. Thank you so much for the sub. Thanks for the Prime sub. Wow, look at me. I'm talking like a streamer. Thanks for the Prime sub, Zell. Auntie, come here, Auntie, come here, Auntie, come here, Auntie. There's a catchphrase for Zell. It'd be that, and that was fucking from Squid Game or Crab Game so long ago. Love it, love it. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you stopping by. For real, love you. But Lucy is a character for me. I would agree with most of what Jay says. If there's one thing that I would want more of, it's Lucy in the second act being Lucy how she was in the first act. Lucy had this unhinged charm to her, this not like it was not similar to Becca's chaos, but more of like just this insanity that Lucy had, and you see it in her eyes. And I feel like she lost that second season. Maybe she lost that because she found David, and that would make sense. But we did have moments of her, protecting David in the way she was, becoming this, vigilante night runner, this net runner, tying up all loose ends. But it wasn't the same. I always think back of when she lifted Dave from the trauma from the ambulance, and they were flying through the tunnelway between cars, and she had no fear at all. And I don't get that season 2. I felt like her performance was a little weaker, but again, probably in the fact that she was in love with David, had something to protect and something to live for now, and that dream was now a reality. And oftentimes, when you gain something, you lose something, maybe like that. Just, yeah, you want to protect that, and she didn't have that before. So, but other than that, man, just straight up awesome character, very Trigger-like character. I will say that. You can see like the red under their eyes too. Reminded me of 02 from Trigger, which was Darling the Franxx. Just awesome character. So you mentioned me here. I say Netrunner. Netrunners are essentially, they're the hackers of Night City. They're the hackers of the cyberpunks. They're the ones that not only, because most people can go into the net, they can interact with stuff, but these people have like the cyber chips in their brain. So when they're hacking and like, you know, their brains are going in function too. Like they can interact with the internet, the net world. They're in there, they're living it. That's why when they get fried, they're usually dead. Like if we saw David and Maine get fried, and you know they're good, whatever, they're great, but like these guys, Netrunners, have the chips in their brain, so they got to really protect that stuff because they fry, the brain fries. Also, Netrunner Kiwi. Kiwi is interesting for me. I really enjoyed this character aesthetically. I thought she had a fucking badass design. I think she had just a badass personality, and she was that kind of like don't trust anyone in Night City. So I did expect her to have some form of betrayal, which she did. A slight redemption at the end, but I don't hate her character. I actually really enjoyed her character. I felt it was great. What do you think about Kiwi?
Yeah, you can hate her because of the decision she made, but like you mentioned, like I don't, and she kind of makes up like for that fatal decision that really fucked up everything. But it like showed that she's like a flawed character, and she knew it at the end, and she recognized it, and she recognized it the whole time. Her whole mantra was "Don't trust anyone in Night City," and she
lived by
she
it
lived that
and died by it.
And I mean, it was unfortunate, but I mean, you can't hate her. Like, ultimately, at the end of it, everyone was out for their own gains, and she might have taken it too far to a point where she betrayed all of her friends. But she recognized it at the last second, and she just took it one step too far. But she did have a cool design, and she kind of was like the mentor to Lucy.
Yeah.
In net running, and you see they had that little conversation, and there's a little foreshadowing where she mentions she's the one that like says or told her never to trust anyone in Night City.
Yeah.
And then
her
she
final
kind
lesson.
Lucy kind of, if I remember correctly, did trust her, and that was it backfired.
Yes, it's hard not to trust someone who's your mentor, you know. I think that when in David's introduction to the crew, I think that's what really brought everybody together into this family aspect. Because now they had like the baby brother, you know, like at least for me, and that was a step in the evolution of the crew to become like from ragtag mercenaries to. I mean, Maine was already headed in that direction, but I think David solidified it because then Maine had a little brother, you know, someone he can mentor, and that really softened him up. It softened Dorio up. He softened Lucy up. He softened Becca up. You know, what didn't David soften up? Maybe a little Kiwi for what she did in the end. Maybe she was happy for Lucy and, you know, Lucy's decision. Next on the list, we have Pillar, who we didn't get much of. Pillar, he actually got murked out. He got flatlined. That's aka pretty much like someone died. One of our first interactions with of someone who had cyber psychosis, and it was very quick. It was instantaneous. Boom. He's pretty much what you see in Cyberpunk as a techie. You know, he's not really a hacker, not just mauling and brawling. He's got the tech. He's got the weapons. He's just like, he's there. You know, he's got the chrome atom. But I don't know. I get it. I get what his character was for, and I think it succeeded at driving the narrative, showing us that Night City has loss, has risk. Nothing is to be taken for granted. comedic, yeah. Overall, I liked him as a character. I think he did it very well. I'll remember him. What about you?
He was one of those characters I was like, all right, that's fine. Kill him.
Yeah.
I didn't like his design. I didn't care for his character traits. Mostly his design, though. I wasn't a fan of the long arms and the creepy hands. It's like, dude, just be proportioned properly.
Yeah.
His arms were too long, and he had giant hands. Not a fan of that.
Well, it was interesting. He had the long arms, and it's like that. Everyone kind of has their own little cybernetics, right? Their own kind of style when it comes to Chrome. It's like you had a very good party when you have your solos, right? Your mercs. People are good with the guns. They're good with instincts. You have your hackers, the net runners. They're getting in the interfaces. They're doing that, this net running stuff that no one else can do in real time or as fast. Then you have your techies, people who can maybe they're working the guns, they're working the high tech. They got the equipment. They have everything they need to essentially make up a good party. They know how to take stuff apart and they know how to put stuff together. So they had like no weaknesses when showing this initially with the party. So like I said, Pillar had his spot. He got flatlined, and then that was it. And I was like, all right, makes sense. I'll just kind of head up to the end of the episode. We definitely wanted. Oh, Central Tunes, what's going on? How you doing? Thanks for stopping by. Much appreciated. We're talking about Cyberpunk Edgerunners, so feel free to, if you've seen it, stop by and chat with us. Tommy says, do I think there'll be a season 2? I think if there is a season 2, it won't be about this crew. It'll be with a different crew. Like I said, there's so much depth to this story that I much rather see a different crew in the same city, maybe in the same time. There's just so much. There's so many more factions of like Arasaka, Militech, Biotech. Oh, Central Tunes really enjoyed it. Awesome. Thank you. We're just talking about the characters now. We're talking about this kind of final crescendo. So we get this last push. We get the betrayal by Kiwi. And then David, gets the cyber skeleton, becomes pretty much this unstoppable force who unfortunately meets an immovable object known as Adam Smasher. What do you think of Adam Smasher, man? As the ending and Adam go hand in hand.
Battery low.
Besides his name, I thought he was cool. I think Adam Smasher is probably the lamest name I've ever heard.
Adam Smasher.
Doesn't really fit even in like a cyberpunk aesthetic. Adam Smasher? I don't know. But I thought he was cool. I think they even called him the boogeyman of Night City. And there is mention of him early on, I think was it the doc?
Yeah.
Someone was talking about him. And you start hearing like that legend's being built, and then you're like, oh, who is this guy? And then you like get context that he is kind of a puppet for like one of the corporations. I can't remember if they said it was who it was. Did they say initially that?
Yeah, Arasaka, and maybe this is some insight I had. Yeah, Arasaka is kind of his main employer, and it's for good reason because they pretty much saved his life. And he kind of, a little backstory, Adam Smasher. He was pretty much reduced to nothing by a rocket blast, and Arasaka offered him a choice: either die or become a full-body cyborg. So he feels a little indebted to Arasaka for essentially saving his life. So that's why he's kind of like their hound.
Gotcha. I thought he was cool, though, from the fact that he kind of, you see David with his that skeleton just smash, like literally using the gravity to just put who knows how much gravity onto people to the point where they're just crushed into just blood on the ground, just a splatter, looking like when you smack a bug. And Adam Smasher kind of throws shade at him, like, "Oh, you have to rely on this grav weaponry It's like that's like child's play.
Graph tech.
And yeah, you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like this overpowered technology is so easy to use for like your benefit in combat that he thinks it's below him. That he wants at least a little bit of skill to be tied into the things he does. You're like, oh, all right, like there's respect in that, I guess. If you're a mercenary and living that life, it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And you see him like he doesn't have that grav tech. He has the I can't remember what's the speed technology.
So he has that Sandy, which for short, like
The
a Sandy
Sandy.
Vistan or whatever it's called. It's Sandy
Yeah.
for short. Yeah.
He's got the Sandy as well, but he's on par with David in that way, but he's lacking the other technology, and he's going this face to face with him, and not even like afraid. Like he knows he's gonna win. There's not even any doubt like in his mind that he's got this in the bag, and it's like David knows it too. Like it's
fucking Adam
it's
Smasher,
just-
man.
it's just a matter of when.
The more you
he's
say
gonna
Adam
do it.
Smasher, the more you like it. By the way, Adam fucking
I
Smasher.
I don't like it.
Smasher.
No, this
Night
is like a
City's
90s.
boogeyman.
This is a 90s
It is
wrestler.
90s, bro.
Adam.
I mean, when you think about when this story was created, yeah, the 90s. And when we're talking about David versus Adam, I want you guys to put in this scope, okay? Adam's been doing this shit since David story takes place in 2076. Adam's been doing Merc years for Arasaka since 2020. 2010. So he's got like 50 plus years of experience going against David. So that's where that confidence, that's where that savagery, and just that, that fucking, that Adam Smasher comes into, man. I enjoyed him. Other than him fucking God, it was disgusting seeing him drop. And then fucking Becca comes out having a conversation. She's like, boom, why are you interrupting us? And yes, this is the Becca cult. B1, thanks for joining. And then just bam, man. It was kind of crazy seeing like David when he's initially fighting up there on top floor of Arasaka, initiates his Sandy, and then Adam Smasher catches on what's going on and has his own Sandy. He's like, doo. He's like, oh, your Sandy? That's rudimentary for us. It's just like, fuck, man. That's just another day on the job for that, man. Crazy. What's insane about Adam Smasher is he's one of the very few people to be essentially full cyborg and not suffer from cyberpsychosis.
Do they explain that in the game or anything?
No, not really in the game. He's literally built different, man. Like maybe it's from that smashing. There's probably a reason like a substantial reason for that. I mean, obviously more people are just like David is, like more people are, how do you say, resistant to it? Yeah. But Adam Smasher is also like, he didn't get all this shit within like a year, right? Like he was just like building himself up little by little by little. Maybe just like as you would become unaffected by a poison by little doses, like how like you get a booster shot and you go against it, kind of like that. He was able to get to that point. I'm really sure. I just know that that man is literally built different. Yeah, B1. Adam Smasher's not relying on any drugs to keep his body together. Exactly. He's a monster. Literally a bio monster, cyborg. Adam Smasher's dope, bro. He's in the game. He's a prolific character in the game too as well. Yeah, man. Fucking Adam Smasher.
Adam Smasher, though. It could be just any other name. Any other name. Just call him Pete or something. I don't care. Not Adam Smasher.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. I like Adam Smasher, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I like that name. I like Adam Smasher. I tell you, once you say it
It's
enough,
all you, bro.
maybe because I played the game and I've had like all these hours in my head. Adam Smasher. What name do you want for him? What name?
I think where I'm getting hung up is because I'm thinking about it as if like Adam, not not the.
Oh,
like,
you're thinking like the molecule?
No, I'm thinking. Wait, is it? I know. I was thinking of it as in like the name Adam.
I'm thinking of the
and
name
then his
Adam.
last name. Oh, that's even worse, dude.
No. Maybe now I'm kind of thinking of the molecule. That kind of sound. Maybe it's like a play on words. Like it's the Atom Smasher, dude. Just fucking.
I thought it
like
was
Adam. No, it's like Adam. His name's Adam, and his last name is Smasher.
Oh, that's worse, dude. I was thinking it
Oh.
was like splitting the atom, making a nuclear bomb, the group like the biggest weapon ever.
B1 says.
And
Atom
now-
Smasher. It sends
now
your
you're
Atom
telling me-
Smasher.
Oh, dude. It's
I
even
mean-
worse if it's